event. So people will talk about like the environment and the photography and the art, and we have a energy expert to give us some like introduction about like how policy like affect everything, something like that. If you're interested in, you're welcome to join us.
So
it's on April 23rd.
And that's not actually on Earth Day, right? It's the day after.
It's not. Yeah, the day after. It's the weekend, the Saturday.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. It's forbidden to dump bodies into the river. Nice background. Wow. I love it. I need one of those.
That's a good rule.
It's a good one. By. That's a good one.
Yeah, so it's on Earth Day. What time does it start, Lucien?
It's start at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it will end at 4 o'clock afternoon. It's
okay.
Kind of like the.
And at SFAI?
At SFAI.
Okay. And do you have any highlights of like who the speakers will be?
That
might attract this crowd of people.
Like I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with them. And like Beth Moon, who is doing a lot of tree photography, and which is really cool. And Michael Nafee, who photographed Brazil. Like there is some like trees, a forest that has been taken down for years. So he photographed that thing by drone over there. And we got Sharon Haynes, the owner of the Haynes Gallery, and talking about the Andy Goldsworthy show. I believe, Connie, you have been introduced that show to the student. Yep. For sure.
I'm a big fan of his.
Me too.
Me
I just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So I have to get in there, and we got Bob Dung.
Lucien, Adrian, did you get to see the Land's End exhibition?
No, and it's done.
You
right?
should.
I missed it.
It's too late. Yeah.
I know.
It's a really interesting one. It's a very interesting one. Yeah.
But the installation that's at the new Haynes Gallery at Fort Mason is based on that piece that was made at Land's End, and it's a wall piece, and it's pretty cool. It's clay that's drying and cracking, and I think it's meant to be there indefinitely.
Yeah, I share the link in the chat. It's called Andy Goldsworthy Firehouse, and it's a good show.
Oh, and that's up till May 28th. I just looked. That's good. So I'll take my gallery class there.
The wall will be there. I think it's meant to be there
forever.
Cool. Okay, good.
But if you haven't, have you seen the stuff in the Presidio of his work? Woodline and Spire, and there's the one that's in the old I can't remember what it's called. Lucien, do you know what it's called?
Tree fall. There are the 4 pieces. There is tree fall. I think tree fall is the only one you need to make an appointment for that. To like
tree fall.
The rest you can just go there and see. Yes, and it Goldsworthy is the rest hosted by the Forsyth Foundation, also funded by Sharon Haynes. So you can check Andy Goldsworthy's work on their website.
Cool.
I'm just putting some things in the chat for some
thanks.
Yeah, so we have like 4 minutes before we're going to start. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Connie. I'm teaching the pinhole and plastic camera class this semester, and my guest speaker today is one of our former graduate students, Lucien Liu, and
thank you.
And I still have coffee almost. Well, it's like every 10 days now.
Oh,
that's good.
we're both getting too busy, so but he's done a lot of alternative processes and a lot of pinhole, some really cool work that's been shown at the Chung Namont Gallery. Is that the right one? Yeah. New gallery in San Francisco. That's by one of our other colleagues that started a wonderful gallery. And Lucien is now working with SFAI and Photo Alliance and SFAA and AAF, like all AAUSS. So he's got his
all the places.
Yeah.
All the things at all the places.
Yeah. So if you need to know anything, any gossip or anything about photography, come to our coffee talks.
Yeah, please. The only thing you need to know, I'm a Academy of Art alumni, and that's it.
I
and
I
learned,
said that. I'm sorry.
you said that, and I learned everything from our photo department, which is really cool, and learned everything from Adrian and Connie, and like just to keep trying. They brought me the spirit. Like they helped me to like build up my my understanding of photography, and I'm going to talk about more throughout my presentation. Hope you guys can try that. Shall we start?
Let's wait 2 more minutes. Does
Sure.
Anybody have any questions? I mean, those of you that are in my class, of course, we will resume our regular class after this, and I think
Same
we
with
have
mine.
two.
We'll go back to my Zoom room after.
Yeah, 2 critiques that we'll be looking at today, and then I'm going to show you how to build a pinhole camera. And then for those of you that are not in my class, we will be doing Worldwide Pinhole Day on Sunday, April 24th, which is, I'll put that in the chat for you. Anybody can participate.
Fun.
I was going to ask Connie, had you ever heard of Holga Week in October?
No.
So
I can't believe that, though.
I stopped at a film store in Dallas, Texas, and I met the guy who hosts it. They've been doing it for years and years and years, but it's called Holga Week. It's the 1st through the 7th of October. It's a big competition. They give away a lot of prizes and different stuff. So.
Is it only there?
Well, you can do it from anywhere and submit imagery
cool.
They have submissions from all over the country and all over the world. So
like Worldwide Pinhole Day. So
right.
Worldwide Pinhole Day is something that's been going on for quite a long time, and people get together in different parts of the world and make images with pinhole cameras, and you can upload them to the site. I reserved a gallery for students in my class and anybody else who really wants to participate. And so we'll be meeting at Ocean Beach on Sunday, April 24th to make images and just have fun. And if you haven't ever made a pinhole camera, I can show you how to do that, but we'll probably be doing a little bit of cyanotypes too. And Chris, are you going to be able to make it up from San Diego?
This was on the 20th?
24th, Sunday, 24th.
Possibly. I'm just weighing out what the wallet's going to look like, paying for gas, getting all the way up to them.
I know you've been on the road a lot. So Chris is our invisible student who's been living out of his truck and creating and processing film in it's kind of like the 19th century when the photographic van was popular and you lived, worked, and ate out of the vehicle. Anyway, it is 1:41, so let's get started. Lucien, whenever you are ready to share your screen, are ready to receive.
So, all right, I'm going to share my screen and let's get started. And I'm doing it right now. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, looks good.
Oh, okay. So, all right. I have to say, I took Connie's class almost every semester. I just want to know like everything about like history of photography and alternative processes from our department. And this class, which was the only class I didn't get any chance to take, because when I was at school, this class was not offered at that time. But I still get a chance to talk to Connie, to learn from her about pinhole photography and trying different kinds of cameras, especially the plastic cameras. So let's get started.
I don't think I've seen that image before.
Oh yeah, this is actually an old image I just recently scanned, and That's actually, I photographed in front of the Chase Center before the Chase Center opened. And I hand hold one of my pinhole camera and to play with the 3 mirror things over there. Yeah, and I know this class start with like doing like passive camera, so I'm going to start with that. And speaking of passive camera, of course, I would say if I have no idea with, maybe Hoga is the thing. I have been shooting with Hoga for a very long time, and this is one of my Hoga, with some accessories on it, and it can mount a filter on it so that I can just do a multiple exposure easily, because like ND filter can like reduce the light to get through the cameras to hit the film, so that I can do multiple exposure, which I created this kind of camera. I was shooting this, I guess I have like 2 or 3 rows of this type of image. This is I think maybe 80 times multiple exposure. I just look at the tree and walk around the tree, and I use the clear tape to take my viewfinder and to draw the tree over there, so that to make sure the tree has always been in the center of the photo. And I just do multiple exposure so that you got like a tree shape, but it's not clear at all, so that to create some like a dreamy or like a dusty feelings over there. Same idea. I believe this is like 30 to 40 times multiple exposure. I think I used I think maybe ND 1000 or something like that, so that I can do like more and more multiple exposure with like ISO 100 film.
Did you say they're 30 or 40?
Yeah, 30 or 40 times exposure. This is kind of like 80. I think 70 to 80 times.
So you're doing that all on one piece of film?
Yeah, so one piece of film. I just kind of like calculate the exposure, and I just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I walked around the tree so that I can get a photo like this.
So were you inspired by Idris Khan at all?
Excuse me?
You know his work? I'm going to put it in the chat.
Yeah. Okay. This is of course this last exposure time. What is that? Yeah, so I know you just work, and something there is another artist, I can't remember his name, I kind of like learned some ideas from that. And this is of course the shooting in the city, so that you can see like to create like a busy feeling about the traffic, about the house in San Francisco. And oops, let me see. And this is I hold the camera doing multiple exposure in front of the mirror, so you can still see my shape. I just do it like this. And I think I did like a flash like 2 or 3 times on it, so that it will bright up a lot of things over there. Connie must be really familiar with this photo. That's the studio we shared when I was still at school, and I think that's a piece of a salt frame, right? Like hanging on the wall. I just holding the camera and just do multiple exposures.
When did you create that? I've never seen these.
Because I think I never put all of 50 images together. so you didn't see that. I guess this is 2018 or 19. Okay. I photographed this couple of photos. I would say Hoga is a really great camera. It's really handy. It's like very light, and you can either switch from 4.5 to 6.6, which the 120 film is the film I used a lot, and so every time when I get travel or something like go out for shooting, I always bring a Hoga with me, and so there is of course, it is offering really great quality of the images. This is a different idea, and the very left image is the Jensen silver print I did in darkroom, and the right, and of course you can see I hold a Hoga and shooting myself through 2 mirrors, but the right in the middle and on the right side, those are 2 camgrams. It's of course it's because the camera is so easy to use, so that it's offering great quality, and you can do a lot of things in the darkroom. This is the same idea. I shot with a Hoga in the studio with a super expensive like studio lighting from school. It's a Hoga plus brown color. So it's a still good camera to use. So you don't have to think about, oh, it's just $20 a camera and it won't be good. It is good. It is a really great camera. And another camera I used a lot, which is Sprocket Rocket. Connie mentioned me, like some of you have been shooting with camera in class. I would call this, it's just a lower version of Hasselblad X Pen. It's offer you like 6:12 like aspect ratio image. And I got this camera, I think 15 years ago. And this is actually from my undergrad school. And then you can see I have a very short hair with my classmates that's in Beijing. And I think it's 2008 or 9. I just selfie with this camera and shooting with color film. And then during COVID, and I found this camera again in some of the boxes. And so I started to do that. This is a typical San Francisco photo, and you can see the fog over there. But you can see on the top, especially close to the data of the film, you can see there's some light leak over there. So every time I will suggest you use back tape and to tape the camera up so that go against the light leak. And the same ideas. This is a tree and a
Lucien, were you processing your own film with this? I assume you were.
Yes, I am.
With the ones from San Francisco, did you push it or anything? Did you push the film, or did you?
No, I didn't. Because I think the only thing I understand why people do not like lomography cameras or Hoga cameras, because it has only one stop of shutter speed. That's the issue. That's why I'm picky on like the weather, and like if I'm shooting with these cameras like this foggy day or like a cloudy day, that will be like very perfect for plastic cameras, because the exposure, it will give you like a very, very like a balanced light over there. So
the one before, the one of the foggy day, that film is not pushed, right? It's just
not pushed.
Just the fog.
It's just a look like that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Oh, thanks. And next, I'm a big fan of photographing trees. And I do diptychs, and it's a good camera to do that. And some of the ocean beach shooting, and of course you can do fast shooting. You can just like I always carry this type of like tiny cameras, flashes, and just do like this. I carry different like power level flash with me, but with tiny size, so that I can keep adjusting the power of the flash so that I can do some nice shots. The Pacific Ocean at Ocean Beach, and the house really close to my apartment, and the reflection on the back glass of the van, and more trees images. Like this image, different from the foggy or cloudy days. It's pretty sunny and have very harsh sunlight over there. But what I'm doing is always like hiding the shade in the shadow, so that use the shadow to protect my camera, to make sure my film is not overexposed. Because I always shoot with a 400, more than 100 film. So
it almost looks like infrared.
Yeah, a little bit, but this is almost the sun side, and the sun came from just right in front of me, so and more. But you can see from the plastic camera lens, the plastic lens, like on the edges, it's not sharp at all. It's only it is only sharp in the center of the of the image. So I would say you can take advantage of it, so create a very vintage looking of the image. More shots in Golden Gate Park. Oh, I guess I put this image before. So that's my practice with the plastic cameras, and it's super easy to do. I would say cameras are exactly the same thing, and you can just use the knowledge on different types of camera just to do some very easy math to figure out the exposure time so that you can play with that. And they are small, they are very convenient to use, and you can get film anywhere. So I would say keep trying that. And before I jump to talk about pinhole cameras, of course, camera obscura is the thing we have to mention. This is the giant camera at the Cliff House. I highly recommend you to take a look. The left image is the image I found online. The right image is I took the photos. You can see on the top triangle part there is a lens rolling all the time, so that you can see the views around the giant camera. This is actually the very basic structure of your camera, and all the camera like this is a Leica camera, but it's still following the rules like the camera obscura like that. And of course, I guess everybody who is doing photography, reading some photo books, you will see this image. This is the very original idea about a dark box, how to create a real camera. And so while making your own camera, you do have a lot of work to do, like especially practice and adjust the exposure of your camera. And this is the test shot when I was Connie's TA and doing pinhole at that time. This is our basement darkroom, and I put a jar of a developer, and the right one, that's one of my favorite camera Connie made. We leave this, we use paper negative, which is a gentle silver paper, a piece of gentle silver paper in it. And we photograph, I guess, maybe 1 hour and maybe 25 minutes or something like that. Kind of like we leave it over there at the beginning of class and pick it up when class is off. So we got an image like this, and on the top is after processing the paper, you can see it shows up the negative, and the bottom is the one we scanned, and the reversing in Photoshop, you can see the image will be like that. And you can tell, like once we figured out the exposure time, and it turned out the exposure is great, which means you did math correctly.
Well, can you go back? Parker will probably really appreciate that the pinhole image of that, because he's been spending a lot of time in the darkroom. So
yes,
you'd recognize that next shot of, I mean, it's a little bit different view, but if you can just look at like the distance from the camera to
really
the
cool
developer bottle and then what it looks like, it's pretty wild that's made with no lens and just a can with a piece of paper in it and a little hole in it.
Yes. Yes, I would say once we started to do pinhole cameras, my suggestions will be like just free your mind. Do not be limited by your thought about like cameras, because once we go to B&H or freestyle to buy a digital camera, we'll say, okay, the number will be what, and it will offer me what kind of image. But doing a pinhole, that's a totally different idea. And I'm going to share some of my handmade pinhole cameras images. And this is actually my very first pinhole photos I photographed. It's actually photographed by this camera. It's a T-Can, but I have adjusted these cameras for like hundreds of times, because every time when I want a different like looking of the image, I adjusted this camera. It's I love this size. It's really easy to hide like anywhere. Nobody will notice that this can is a camera. So I started to photograph that. This image, you can see I actually moved a little bit, and because you can see the light on the back, the window covered my face a little bit. So I kind of like photograph myself and then leave the camera to keep photographing so that it showed up some lights over there. And you can see this is a room 210, I can't 220. The big one, the big room. But you can see the circle over there, which means the pinhole was pushed a little bit to the back, and so that the big hole shows up the shape in the image.
So it's recessed. That means the pinhole is recessed behind the drilled hole.
Behind the drilled hole. And this is the camera I made with a coffee bag. This is not a camera, but I have tons of coffee bags. So basically,
the camera.
I'm not sure if that camera is still good, because I made a couple of this type of camera again. I realized like the back painting inside started to fall off like after maybe 10 months or something like that.
Oh,
so
well,
you
have
to
the original one that you gave me.
Yeah, Connie have the camera in this photo. Actually, the Intelligentsia one. The good thing about use the coffee bag or a soft material is you can actually create a zoom pinhole, because well creating a pinhole camera, the only thing you need to know is the distance from your pinhole to your light sensitive material. Like you need to know the distance, but with a soft material, you can actually know, like if it's a wide open, it will look like that. If I make it a little bit narrow, it will be another camera. So it will give you totally different looking on your image. And actually, I use the coffee bean bag camera to photograph that coffee can, and after I drink up that blue bottle coffee, and that's become another camera for me. So it's kind of like everything could be a camera, and I'm not sure if you can see that, like in their B and O, there is a tiny hole on it, and so that's my pinhole. But this camera is not good anymore because it's a really vulnerable material. It's really thin. So after shooting a couple of times, it's already like broken. And this is another camera I always use. I just took off the whole piece of the edge and tape another piece of paper on it. And the good thing about the shape of this can, so that you can do like a smooth roll of paper, or you can do angle over there.
What was the purpose of replacing the edge?
Oh, because after I started to make pinhole cameras, I started to collect the different looking pins, so that I cut it. That's the Chinese says some ocean things over there, so I just want that looking be there.
Oh,
but
okay.
Actually, I made a mistake. I just punched this hole too big, and it just started to like falling apart. So I had to fix that thing over there.
Got it.
And this is another camera. It's kind of like the Connie's red. The red one we did the test. We did the test, and you can see it's started to get rusty, because I have been placed this camera outside for like 10 months. And I will show that image later. But it's a really good camera, and you can go the rolling way, or go the horizontal way, or go the vertical way. And this is one of my favorite type. It's tiny. I have a lot of this camera, and I lost a lot of this camera because when I take it outside, some people feel like, oh, it's just trash, so they just take it away. Even though I leave a notice on the camera that photography, don't touch, and it's still gone. But it's tiny.
Are these are all done with paper negatives, right?
They are all done with
all
paper.
The ones that you've shown so far.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they are all done with paper negative because the paper is just so easy to use. And sometimes with the project, I will share later this photography things. Even though the paper is the expert, it doesn't matter. You can still use that. This is the camera I really like. I designed the shutter so that it will be easily to slide. And I use this camera because you can see the f-stop is less than 100, so it's pretty fast camera. So I always carry this camera with me. I cannot find this camera, but it's a candy can with 2 rolls of a film, to like a 35 millimeter dark box of the film, so that I can do the rolling thing. It's kind of like a sprocket rocket thing. That's in SF MoMA. I was having a cup of coffee and photographing.
Pre-COVID.
And pre-COVID for sure. Pre-COVID. By the way, the show in SF MoMA is really good right now, and you guys should go and check. And this is a really funny camera. It's a big one. It's a candy can, and it has a 15 pinholes on it. And this board is actually my shutter. When I release this, it started to photograph the 15 holes at the same time. And then when you open the camera, you can see I created like a different use like a cardboard to block the light to each other, so that I can photograph the different things at the same time. So for this image, I just hold the camera really close to my face. But for the camera, the distance of the from the pinhole to my face are different. So some of the pinhole photograph my forehead, some of them photograph my glasses, some of them photograph my chin, and I just cut them and put them together to create some like photo collage. And this is a very good idea to have a try, but it has a couple issues with that. I will share it later.
So there's a question from Adrienne. She wants to know, how do you determine the exposure time?
The exposure time, because Connie definitely will like share that in her class. But if you have like a reader thing to punch your hole, that's gonna be super accurate. But for the thing we are doing right now, we use different size of needles, because we know how big the different needles will punch, so that we use the size of the hole and to whatever formula.
You basically take the focal length of the can, and you divide that by the diameter of the hole, and you get your f-stop. And then you get
your f-stop.
You can use a light meter, or you can use an app on your phone or something like that to give you an idea. But there's a lot of exposure latitude, a lot.
Yes, because of course, every time when we made a pinhole camera, we did the math like from the design, but there will also be a lot of issues over there. So you have to do test shooting, so that to keep fixing your camera, so that figure out which f-stop is the perfect one for your camera.
So you can also buy micro drilled pinholes that are absolutely they're machine drilled, so they are absolutely perfectly that diameter. When we make them, they might be a little different. So
yes, kind of like this. This is the one you can see there are 6 over there. That's made by a Zero Image. So it's a different size. So every time you can just change it, and you will get a different size. So you get a different f-stops.
And I noticed that there was a comment that your image looked like David Hockney's collages. I totally agree with that. Is that what you did? Did you take those individual images and then combine them to make a collage?
Yes. Yeah, that's really cool. I scanned this image like this, and I just divided it into small pieces and put them together to see how it looks like. And of course, you can do it in this way with a landscape for sure, with no problem.
Yeah.
And this camera has already been gone. I cannot find it because it doesn't work well, but this image is really cool. It has a 13 pinholes on it, and this is just a tiny candy can, and it's really close to me. I just hold this camera right on my face, and I use a flashlight to light up my face. But you can see on the top and the bottom there are the two like really dark images over there because the hole are smaller than the others. That's kind of like a troubleshooting thing. But I really love this.
Sorry, how did you decide to do 13 holes on this? Was that arbitrary?
It's actually, I just want, when I design this camera, I just want to look like a little bit different, but the size of the camera is really a limit for me. So I just say, okay, whatever it is, I just punch the hole over there and see how it goes. But it's turned out pretty good. I do not want the images to like blend to each other, and
but, I mean,
so the hole has to be.
It looks like there's a star that you've made with
Yes,
the holes that you made. Was that?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was trying to create some shape like the round rectangle or triangle, something like that. It's turned out, but I wanted more, and so I think this shape was good for me at that time. So I used this on one piece of paper, and the paper is kind of this size. It's really small, and this is the same type of camera, and it's a selfie I hold. You can see my arm. My arms are on my body, and because my face was go against the sun, and I use this camera a lot. And this is a really well-designed camera. I really love it. And actually, the image I took is the time when I was teaching for the fifth grade, and to teach them how to build a pinhole camera. And the kid standing over there, you can see his leg was shaking because he standing over there for 9 minutes for me. And I say, do not move. You can dance with your arm, with your head, but do not move your feet. And so he just standing over there for me, and for 9 minutes. And you can see on the very right side of the image, there's a car came and parked a little bit, then drove away. So there is a shape of the car over there. It's a pretty cool image. So actually, a lot of things I have been like playing with pinhole for maybe 4 years already, kind of like that. And especially during COVID, and I have nothing to do, and so I started to collect the different containers, and the Connie gave me a couple, and so I made over 100 cameras at that time. And some of them works really well, some of them doesn't work, which is fine. Those are some of them I really like, especially the Halloween coffin one, but that's just too tiny to photograph. I would just use that as one of my collection. But a couple of them works really great. And that Pecco one, I will share that camera with you, and I have been take that camera on my window for about a year, so I'm going to pick it up next month and to see how 1 year photography looks like, exposure looks like.
Wow.
Yeah. And of course, with the experience making cameras, I started to design like punch the pinhole for my digital cameras, because it's just so super easy to use. You can just see how it looks like immediately from the string on your camera. So this is a comparison. On the left, it's because the pinhole I designed is kind of like a 50 millimeter, and on the left is a 50 millimeter lens on my camera. On the right is the pinhole I designed for it. It's the same view. You can see it's blurry, and then the pinhole is a little bit, I guess, too big for that, because it's it's too big. So it's not sharp at all. And but I have a couple of images I really like to create some like dreamy feelings. And so I think that's one of my favorite parts about the pinhole photography. Same idea, but still this pinhole is actually bigger than the one before. So you can see it's blurry than before. And actually, because I graduated at the end of the 2019, and the graduation ceremony was postponed for a very long time. So I used the pinhole camera to photograph my like a graduation photos. My mom says, you can't submit this to the school. It's just so weird. I didn't, but I really love this photo. I think it's like a 45 seconds exposure. At that time I feel like, oh, I really need the neck holder. Yeah.
Which camera did you use?
For this is actually a digital one. And I shot with my 5DS.
Oh, okay.
So this is a digital one. You can see you cannot go against with your breath, right? So, and of course, with like doing this handmade cameras, you've got a lot of issues over there. Here are some like troubleshooting you may face, while you making your own cameras, but which is totally fine, just to keep fixing that. For those two, light leaks for sure. And especially if you bring kind of like a cardboard or an Amazon box, there will be some holes you will never notice. So for both of these images, I loaded the paper in the darkroom, and I thought I just like use black tape to tape the box very well, but see on the image on the left is definitely there are two holes on the corner. So while I carry the camera outside, it's starting to join and starting to burn the paper, even though you got some shapes over there, but your paper has been overexposed for sure. You gotta like two light resources, like leaking light to expose your paper. And on the right, there is actually it's a tiny hole, because I followed the exposure rules and I got an image, but it's definitely there is some light leak over there. I was carrying the cameras, it's starting to join, you can see like a fuzzy lights over there. That's very normal.
Is the black on there? Is that the paint?
I think so.
Okay,
yeah, it's a paint. It's not dry at all, So okay. I just loaded the paper and go out, and it turned out there's a light leak, and I have to reprint it, like reprint it. And there's, I will say it happens. It depends on the weather. I left this camera for like over maybe 4 hours over there, and you can see there are a lot of my like fingerprints on it.
Yeah.
It's because it's super foggy, and when I open the camera and put out the paper, and you can tell there's water in it, and so like my fingerprints got ink on it. If you don't want it, just remember, be careful with that. And
so like
of course,
condensation, is that what you mean?
Something like that. Yes, and after this image, and I started to use a piece of transparent material to cover my my pinhole, even though it's kind of a filter. It's like block some lights, of course, even though that's clear, but it will help you to avoid this kind of situation.
Do you, Lucien, when you're out shooting, do you bring a changing bag, or are you just loading all your cameras before you go and then come back and process them?
Because my working process is more like I don't bring my changing bag,
okay, but
I always bring maybe 20 cameras with me loading the paper.
Okay.
So I just go out to test the 20 different cameras and roll down what camera had what kind of issue, and do another round, something like that. But I don't do.
You don't change when you're out there.
I don't change paper, but sometimes it's still up to the situation. Like if I really want to like shooting with that camera. And I only have one or two, I definitely will bring a Genie back.
Okay.
And this is one of my favorite camera. It still have a camera shaking. The pinhole was punched too big, and the distance from the pinhole to the back was calculated wrong, so you get a camera shake. I have a bean bag, so sometimes I use a bean bag instead of a tripod, and that's a kind of a good idea it will be like easier for me to take with me when I go out for shooting. And the same idea, you can see it's it's not taped. The pinhole was not taped well. You can see the shape of the punctured hole on your container, even though the image on the right looks pretty sharp. It's a well-designed camera, but it still has something to fix. And actually, this is this camera. The very first shooting of this camera, you can see the pinhole was definitely not punched at the same size. And you can see some of them were like overexposed, some of them like were too small. So I have to. Actually, this is the backyard of our department. when you go downstairs and go to the back, a photograph on the top. That's how it looks like. And I just place all my pinholes on the light table so that I can fix everything until it looks even. Otherwise, I have to replace the pinhole. This is another idea, and I always do this. I taped one of my camera on my arm, so that while I'm moving, it's a kind of like a still photograph in my hand. But this is the thing. If the tape is not steady enough, it will shake, and so that you can still tell that my hand, that's my watch, but it doesn't work well on this photo. So I know next time I'm gonna do that better. This is a very interesting idea. It's supposed to be like a 360 camera, but it turned out the images are not connected. So I'm still working on on a camera with 4 or 5 pinholes on it, a round one, and so that I can photograph the 360 view. But this is definitely a troubleshooting, and I got an image, but they're not connected with each other, and it's definitely like 4 photos. It's a good try so that I can I understand a little bit more about once you place your cameras over there, the exposure from different pinholes, even though on one camera, that's probably different.
So did you expose these separately?
I actually, because the idea of this camera, is kind of like I created a shutter kind of like a piece of paper like this. But think about that, the container has 4 holes on it. So actually, I just slide up, so it will started to expose at the same time. But I prepared the 4 pieces of black tape. So I use light meter to calculate the exposure time. So I just taped the pinhole at a different time, so that I can get like pretty even exposure. Yeah.
Also, what could be really interesting with this, I think, is to do another exposure with it moved slightly and then overlap them. Have 2 pieces of overlap that. That could be really interesting.
That's a good idea. Because for now, what I'm doing is what I'm working on with the camera is I created a cross in the center of the container, but not this one. That's what I'm designing right now. And I put 4 pieces of paper cut off like this, and there are the 2 more, and so that it's connected like this. It's kind of like a star size, so that each will be a 360 image.
That's interesting. Yeah.
That's what I'm working on right now.
Cool. And is this out back from
from school?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
yes. That's a perfect place to do some testing shooting. It's really close to the darkroom.
Yeah.
And And of course, there is a lot of like brands on the market right now. Like this is one of my favorite French brand of camera. This is the Undo one, the one I just showed, the zero image one, 4x5. So they will offer you the best like looking of the pinhole photography. This is the Ocean Beach, kind of 10 seconds exposure with 4x5, and I guess that person was just standing there like fishing, so that there is a tiny dot over there. It's a sunset time from the Ocean Beach, the Bay Bridge, and Pier 24. After visiting Pier 24, and I photographed this one. But you can see with the longer exposure, kind of like a 15 to 20 seconds, you can see the cloud was moving. The Union Square with during COVID, actually. I think that's the only time I visited the Union Square during COVID. There's not so many people over there. And of course, like doing pinhole will give you very strong lens distortion, and especially once you have a very lower position of your camera, and you can just make the line of it on your image, like just to make them super big, kind of like from the idea of the like William Eggleston's bicycle, and one actually the right one that keyed bicycle is very close to the bicycle, but you can still tell that's a little bit far away from that. And the tree, it's I actually placed my tiny tripod. It's almost on the ground, and it gave me the looking of the tree like it's still growing on the top. And I always show this one like from the Chase Center, Stephen Curry. You can see the line on the top and the bottom, they are not straight. And that's the idea from this is I don't even know where I found this like a film, because like once you place your film in your camera, it is supposed to be like very flat, but you can lose it a little bit in your camera so that actually your sensor is not flat anymore, so that the images you created, especially in this image, the top line and the bottom line, you created a curve over there. And so you don't have to like really follow the rules that, okay, the film has to be like super flat so that you will create the perfect image. You don't have to do that. You can play with that. And those are like, I think I photographed those images with the zero image one with ultra density filter. So I think it's over 5 minutes, and you can see the lake looks like a mirror. And actually there are ducks like swimming over there, but you cannot tell them anymore because it's just too long compared with the exposure time. They have already been gone. And the trees with the pinhole, the ocean and the pinhole. And then on the left, you can see there are the birds. And it's a sunset time, and I think it's a 400 ISO film, so it's a pretty fast. It's kind of like maybe 4 seconds, 5 seconds, and you can still see the birds over there, but they were moving.
The little snowy plovers.
Yes. And this is the thing I always do while I was traveling. And this is New York City. And when I checked into a hotel, I take my camera like against the window. This is a 7 hours exposure, and during the night.
7 hours?
Or 7 hours. So I take the camera and started to like take a shower and go to sleep. And next morning when I woke up, I pick it up. You can see the car parked over there a little bit. Maybe it's left in the morning. It's 7 hours, and the reflection on the glass, and you can still tell that. But it's a pretty steady. It's not shaking, but it's 7 hours. This is the same idea. So I think it's 7 hours too, and with the idea to twist your film, and so that you can see the building looks a little bit weird in this photo because the film was not flat in my camera. And with the longer exposure, the film looks a little bit balanced and the flat is not contrasting anymore. It's a little bit like a solarized on your film. Of course, this is a successful version about like a tape the camera on my arm, but I taped the camera on the coffee kettle, and so I taped the camera on my coffee kettle and I started making coffee. So the kettle looks like sharp, but the background was kind of like you can see the lights over there, the lights from the kitchen, and maybe from some reflections over there. This is I made a coffee kind of 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So this is the exposure time. And this is like a 6 to 7 hours exposure while I was sleeping. This is this room where I'm living, and I just before I go to sleep, I take the camera in front, if really close to my bed, and I went to sleep. You can see I'm barely moving in that 6 hours, so pretty silent. You can see my phone was on the pillow, and I guess I touched the phone a little bit during the night, and it's still, but the rest, like the bookshelf, the desk, they're sharp. It's recording my sleeping. And this is another, I would not say it's a project, but I'm still shooting this. Like every time when I went to a supermarket or grocery store, I bring a pinhole camera with me and taped it, or like use some lines or use a tripod and put it into the cart, and then open the shutter and started shopping. And so you can see the shape of the cart, the light on top of the roof started to join like the trace of the light on my film. And you can see the bottom two, there are some like chips, there are some like beers over there, and you can see my hand was holding the cart, and after that I switched the camera. I took it out from the cart and put it into the shopping bag and walked it home. And so it's the same idea. And on the right one, you can see the zipper get super big, and because
that's the zipper.
That's the zipper, and wow. You can see like those handles. They were soft, and like they were shaking while walking, but the zipper was pretty sharp. And this is just another one, like the very first pinhole images I showed. It's a very close shooting. It's a shot with a 4x5 camera, and the wall is kind of like this close. It's a kind of like maybe 4 to 5 inch, so that I got a very sharp looking of the crack on the wall. And another distortion, it makes the car like really, really flat, like a UFO looking. And next one, a little bit scary, is playing with mirror. I just made it really small, and this is a self-portrait with 2 mirrors, and I was keep rolling my eyes so that you can see the back part of my eyes, and it's a kind of like a Halloween looking. I always do Halloween shots with a pinhole. So
what do you think your exposure time was on that? Any idea?
I think it's like 8 seconds, something like that.
Oh, that quick. Okay.
That's pretty quick, and because you can see the background of the light from the background, they were pretty like light. I think it's afternoon. Well, I can't remember, but I didn't expect it's so wide open, like so wide. The lens was so wide. Mm-hmm. But it turned out to be very interesting photo, because the original idea was I just want to play with the mirrors. But it turned out a really interesting image.
Yeah, that's cool.
And this one is the winter in New York City. And if you loaded the color film, you definitely can get a color photo like that. And the following will be some test shooting. That's the time. Well, I was just moved into that apartment. It's so empty at that time, and I was just checking the camera, and then I did some photos like this. You can see Yeah, because I can't remember. I don't even remember I photographed this thing because yeah, like the cable release was super long and a 10 meters cable release, and that's me. Like I think this is like 20 minutes exposure. No, not this one. This is pretty fast, I think. But you can see it's just so messy in my apartment. I guess that's the final time. For sure. You can see there's some like a rolled paper, there's like a contact print frame and papers, books, anywhere.
Toilet paper.
That's toilet paper. Actually, that's Connie in the center. I photographed. I took that's you. Doing critique. I photographed this one, and I just put the camera on the back. You can see that's Bo. The girl has a long hair. And you can see that's 220. We were doing critique, and I did this photograph.
You did not ask permission. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, there's another one. This is another one. That's actually the event is upcoming. The World Pinhole Day at Baker Beach. That's Connie, Zachary, and Joan, I think. And we were loading cyanotype papers at the time. And it's I didn't move my tripod. I just turned my camera to another direction and then took this photograph. That's going to be great. Which is
okay.
Yeah, this one is from that day. It's a very nice day. It's a very nice day. We did some very cool cyanotype that day.
Yeah, it was Worldwide Pinhole Day, and we did more cyanotypes than we did pinhole.
See, Tony, like you're the expert, so you're kind of like a relaxed, so you're sharp, and the rest of them are super busy. Said, what I'm gonna do, and so they were busy on something at that time.
And I believe I remember everyone got wet that day, including Zachary.
Yeah, Zachary got hit by the wave, like a lot. It's a great event. Come to our World Pinhole event this month. We're gonna do something like this too.
It'll be fun for sure.
Yes.
Now that's a really cool image. I didn't realize it was from that day. That's super cool.
Yeah. It's I like this image, and especially the cloud part. But I have to burn down the cloud a lot so that I can get the shape.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. And actually, this is a project I want to talk about, like how I apply pinhole photography to one of my old projects. I switch this project a lot. And even though I would still say this project is an ongoing project, but I'm just gonna distracted by some other projects right now, but I'm not stopped doing this. And this is actually the very original images from this project. The project is talking about there is some like a fuzzy memory came came back to me. So I just want to go back to that to look for the feelings, why I feel that way. So the idea was, okay, I want to try something different. So to make the very original image to look a little bit different, so that to seek that uncleared memory. That's the original idea. But you can see I did like a polarized Johnson silver print collage. I did tone cyanotype. I did like long exposure. I did pinhole, but it turned out to want to put them together. I thought it was good at the time, but like 6 months later, I feel like, well, it looks super weird. So I started to re-photographing that thing. And by that time, the only technique I kept is pinhole. So this is a digital pinhole. It's a 30-second exposure and with 3 times flash. So I set up, it's a digital one. And I designed a pinhole for my digital camera and set it up with a flash on it and holding the release cable, and another hand holding the controller of the flash. And so 10 seconds from the front and turn to another side, and do another 10 seconds and turn to the other side do another 10 seconds, and the while doing a flash during that time, so that I created this type of photo. And this is just a photograph from on a piece of film, and I think it's a 20 seconds exposure, and do like 12 to 13 for once, and turn my hand to another side to do another like 7 to 8, so that you can see it's a double face, but I kept my body not move. It's really hard to do, but it's a pretty successful, I would say, for this photo. And you can see on my shoulder there is some weird shape. That's my tripod. And this is a very close shot. Actually, I can't remember if it is the blue bottle one or another one. It's a very close-up shot. I use an LED light. It's a kind of round. It's basically light up my forehead and my left chin and the right chin, so that you can see the light was pretty even. And that at that time I rolled my eyes a little bit to create a very creepy feeling. And you can see my nose got super big because like it's a curved back pinhole camera. And this is the digital one doing pinhole, and I punched the hole pretty big so that it's not sharp at all. And doing the same idea with this one. I changed my the angle of my face, and I close my eyes to create like a 3 eyes looking. And because the reason why I want the pinhole a little bit big, because I don't want the image look as sharp as this one. I want my face blended a little bit, so that's the idea. And the light is really good, and like from the sun side at the time of the sunset, so that it covers the top of my head, so just to light it up my nose and my chin. This is a digital pinhole with double. No, this is not digital. This is double exposure with a pinhole. It's a very close. Pinhole portrait, and a shadow with a pinhole. It's a double exposure on one piece of film. And this is just a paint with a light with the like relevantly bigger hole to create it not sharp feeling, but this pinhole is pretty like the telescope looking, so compresses the space with my face and the background. And that's the same day, but then another pinhole is a sharper. I was fat at that time. You can see the double chin.
Your hair was really short too.
Yes, I think my hair is a double length.
It's more than double, I think. It's like triple.
So my hair is super long right now.
It's probably
I think
longer
that
than Laura's.
Oh, really? And this is another double exposure. You can see this time I did a really close-up shooting as a background, so it's kind of reminds me about some of the old photos, like the traveler photos, like doing double exposure. That okay, this is the printer has a bad view looking, and put you like the darkroom Photoshop things, but this is a pinhole double exposure. This is a pinhole triple exposure. And so I just keep moving that thing so that it can create exactly same facial expression and of me at that time. And this is exactly same idea from the very beginning image, but this time straight off my face, just towards to the camera, and the same thing every time I use the flash to flash up my face a little bit. So from the project, self-portrait project, doing totally different techniques, and I totally switched to pinhole to help me to explore like my memory feeling, because what pinhole can give it to me is it's not clear thing, which matched up the idea of memory, and especially the memory I cannot recall anymore. So it's a very interesting technique to apply to the photos.
But
And once you
this body of work is called Serenity, right?
Yes, it's called Serenity.
And what can you talk a little bit about that, or what
Because I feel like, because I think Adrian and Connie, you two knows me, like most of my projects is talking about myself. It's kind of like, even though I photograph the landscapes or like street views, I still consider them it's like myself the projection on that view, or reverse way, that view project to myself. So there is some like memory things keep triggering me, but it's not clear. So I just want to go back, trying my best to create the same scenes so that I can put myself over there to how can I say that? To get a feeling again, so that I know.
I know that with you, you think a lot about words that you would use as a title or as the title of a body of work. So I was just really curious what you were thinking about when you.
Yes, serenity means, like I a lot of my works that have been expressed. I have been expressed my feeling about like looking for like a balanced life. I don't want to be emotional, and so serenity is kind of like, even though I trying to looking for something I cannot catch anymore, but I still want to get some inner peace from that saying, and clear saying. So that's the reason I call this project Serenity. I think it's especially for self-portrait one, and I do this black and white, and a little bit timeless, and a little bit like a weird looking project. So I'm still working on it. It's I'm still considering this project is ongoing one, and that's yes, I'm still looking for the answer. But which is a good thing actually. And that's all about the Serenity. And next chapter, I'm going to talk about some photography. I guess maybe some of you do not know what photography is, because I would say it's a made-up word, because once it's connected with the photography, it could be whatever graphy, right? Like drawing with light, it could be whatever graphy. So I think a year ago, at the beginning of 2021, there was a news that this image could be the longest known exposure photograph ever captured using a beer can. This is 8 years exposure. So actually, this is a scientist, and this is Regina, and she just kind of like what I did. You use a beer can and tape it to and architecture, and just leave it over there. Goes to her master degree, PhD, and after those years, then pick it up. Then she got an image like this. So each line is a day, like the sunrise and sunset, and it's a day. And like the distance from the Earth to the sun was moving, so the sun goes higher and lower, back and forth all the time. And so I was thought, oh, this is so interesting. I have been doing pinhole for a couple of years, so why should I do that? And another influence is of course the great Chris McCaw, and who's doing some burn on the paper. But his idea was using lens instead of using the real sharp lens instead of a pinhole. So his paper was real burned by the sun. So I compare these two types of works, and I started to explore the photography. This is some on-site shot. I just use this type of camera and tape it somewhere, to create the photo. And at the beginning, I did two different types. One is I just leave my camera over there for one day to see how the sun was moving. Another one is I just leave it there, and just forget about it. And whenever I thought, oh, there's supposed to be a camera over there, then pick it up. So actually, this is the very first one, and I thought it was pretty successful. It's September 20th to February. That's 5 months, I guess. 5 months.
Is
but
this black and white paper?
This is a black and white paper. I'm not sure how many of you guys knows about Lumen print. Lumen print is just you guys know the gelatin silver paper or black and white darkroom paper. You cannot take it out under the a normal light. You have to look at it under the safe light because it's not sensitive to the right light. But once you expose that gelatin silver paper under the sun, and it started changing color. And actually, the color I got from this image is from a piece of black and white paper, because there is a different kind of silver compound. They are unstable, but I skip the development stop process just to jump to the fix, so that I fix those silver compound supposed to not be in the paper, so that it just started to show some colors over there. But this print is really small. This is just a 35 millimeter film case. That's small. I remember the paper is kind of like this size, so it's not. Once I scan and bring it up, and it's not super big, and you can see some dust on it for sure. But I got an idea, because the Connie knows where I'm living. I got a pretty good view of the sunrise and sunset. And then once I got this image, I was so excited, and I started to try different ways. And then this is kind of like a Christmas card testing. This is not really a pinhole. This is I put a piece of gelatin silver paper in my hotspot, and did a kind of a half-day exposure of the sunset. And when at the sunset time, the fog came, so you can see the light gonna fade away a little bit. And, so it's 7 hours with a piece of expired paper, but with a real lens. But I didn't get the paper burned. And so, of course, since I have been doing different processes, I tried cyanotype on the very right side of the image. That's my setup. I put 2 pieces of cyanotype in my Hasselblad, and in my 4x5 camera, the paper got burned. That's pretend. I have not done anything more with this, but I saw some potentials with those experimenting stuffs. I thought, okay, doing 5 months or even 1 month has been too long. I will just do 1 day. So I started to working on a project called One Day Solar. I just place my camera anywhere in the city, and I just expose the 1 day. But before everything, I have to observe it's actually I would call this is a 3-day process. The first day, I rode my bike, I just walk out over there and to see the shape of the tree, the shape of the street, or the building, or anything I want to photograph, and to see at that time how the sun will moving and interact with the subject matter that I want to photograph. And the second day, I just maybe a little bit early, get over there, place my camera, roll down the time I photograph, and started to expose. And the third day, I went back after the expose and pick it up. So this is the photographs I got, some of the photographs I got from the whole project. And you can see those are some different colors, and because different type of a paper, if fixed or unfixed, give you different ideas. And you can tell some of the lines are straight, some of the lines are curved. That's because if you use if you use a curvy back camera, you will get a curved line, and if you get a flat back camera, you will get a straight line. And the second row, the third one, you can see there are a lot of lines over there. That's the camera I used with the 13 with the 13 pinholes on it, and so you can see the lines started to cross over to each other. And the very last, the bottom right corner one, you can see sun went into the cloud a little bit for a couple of hours, then came out. And this is the idea. This is the whole project I did. And Connie mentioned the Changnamen Gallery, and they exhibited this whole project. I printed it in wrong size and matted in wrong size and small prints. And so this is how it looks like. During that time, I still keep doing this like longer exposure. This is 5 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks. And you can see there's some days the sun didn't show up because you can see sun took a break over there. So this is just keep doing that. And this is definitely like the wrong back, so you can see the sun goes around. And I told you I have a different story with this camera, and this is a camera. this is the case. I placed this camera outside for 10 months. And it's turned out I didn't point it to the sun. And I guess somebody maybe, or some animals got there and kicked the container a little bit. So you can see the bottom part, the building, the trees, they're not sharp at all. I would say 10 months got nothing, which is a quite interesting experience, but you have to do it until you saw that. And after exhibited that one-day solar, another element I was super interested in, like to bring in to the one-day solar project, which is the water. I really enjoy photograph the sun and the reflection from the water. And so I started to find lakes, started to find some like I don't know, just the water in the rivers, oceans, and so that plays the camera so that I can get the two different lines at the same time. That those are in the Golden Gate Park. There are a couple of lakes over there, and those two are still they are same photographed in the Golden Gate Park. And hide the camera behind the trees so that you can record the flower in your photo. And I traveled with my pinhole cameras. That's the last year I went to Montana, and when I got there, checked in, I took the camera over there, photographed the mountain, and that's a day later I pick it up. So that you can see the image.
Is the blue tape, does that say please don't remove this camera or something?
Yes. It says please don't touch. It's a photographing, and I marked the date and the time I started to photograph. And you can see in this photo, some parts are strong, like very strongly burned. Some parts are not. That's because the cloud were moving all the time, so that it's about the light. And that's under the tree, and photograph for 4 days. And that's before I put the paper into the fix. This is how the paper looks like.
So Lucien, just a clarification. You are scanning the image before you fix it, right?
I always do 2 different versions.
Okay.
Before I threw the paper into the fix, I scan it. But while scanning, the scanner give you a very strong light, so the scanner will burn the paper again. But compared with the exposure time, that will be days. I would say it doesn't matter.
Right.
So I always have
your photograph, your negative that's actually being recorded, which is this image on the right. Is that after fixed?
No, that's before fixed.
Oh, it is.
That's
okay.
Well, that's the time once I took off the camera from the tree and open it. It looks like that.
Okay.
It looks like a lumen print, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's the color like a pinky color, and once it's burned, it's to turn to like a purplish looking.
And so when you're inverting the paper negative, are you doing any adjustments in color?
Not the color. I just clean it up.
Okay.
I just clean it up. So maybe some paper. I would say with my experiment, because I'm with it for all the time, like I would say RC paper is my friend with this pinhole project, because it's just easier to work with than the fiber paper. I would say once my exposure, I would say in San Francisco, like a sunny day, and no fog, no rain, once my exposure time with the camera has aperture maybe over like around a hanger, f-stop is a hanger. Once my exposure time is up to 7 hours, it's a turn. The image started, the unfixed image started to turn from the warm tone to cool tone. Like after 10 hours, you will definitely get a cool tone image. But before, it's kind of like a warm tone, warmish looking. So that's the thing I would say, even though I share this experience with you, but I would say that's still the thing you have to test, because different paper, different design of the camera, and different weather definitely give, and even different temperature definitely give you different results.
Right.
But I would say that's just a happy accident. I will take whatever if they give it to me. See like this, though, those are two unfixed image, and I placed those two cameras almost at the same time, like in 5 minutes, I placed these two cameras, but it turned out really different. I don't know why, I cannot explain. Yeah, it's the same paper, I cannot explain.
Yeah.
And so back to this one from our textbook. That's how I just feel so lucky doing pinhole photography, because it's like allow me to understand a lot of things about how my camera is working, and trying different cameras, even like making your own cameras will give you a totally different view and a totally different engagement with the thing you're photographing. And because for now, continuously I'm photographing trees in the past year or maybe past 2 years. And I switched from 35 to media format to large format, because I just want my shooting process to go slower and slower and slower, so that I can have more time to think about why I want to photograph this tree, because it's just a tree, why I love it. I have to figure it out. And the shooting process really gave me the idea to do that. And like the pinhole, I want to know like, well, I bring the aspect of time into my photography, and the view I'm looking at every day is changed, and it's just gave me totally different feeling. So I would say try different cameras, make your own cameras, and enjoy. And that's all for all my sharing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm guessing there might be some questions. Adrian probably
One
needs to get going.
One last thing, I'm just going to show you this. And this is the camera. Can you see that? This is the camera I taped on my window for about a year. And
what?
So
cool.
I totally forgot about the camera. And that day, when I was cleaning, and I thought, oh, it's said 2021 May sometime. And I would say, okay, I will just pick it up next month and see how the 1 year exposure looks like.
And that tape totally stuck for that long. Are you using electrical tape?
Yes.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's not moving. It is not moving. I don't know. I don't even know.
I have to have you come back to show us your results.